Hey there, beasties. Is Pathfinder too balanced? Let's get into it, shall we? Now, what I mean by that, by too balanced, is let's say we have a beginning player and they say they want to do something like, hey, I want to trip this guy and tackle him, and you're like, well, you need a really good athletics and tackle, like, oh, there's different things, and this person could get rule checked to death depending on what they want to do. Yet there are so many options, especially with the DCs by level chart, where you just set the DC based on their level and what they want to do and have them roll some checks. But this can really actually kill the fun and slow down a game. And you've even had the developers flat out say, just because an ability exists as a feat does not mean you need it to do it. It is easier with the feat, yes, but by no means should it stop you from being able to do similar things, or things that, like, if you want to throw someone, yes, there's whirling throw, a monk feat, a wrestler feat, but without that feat, you can't throw anyone. A giant can't throw a small character. So these things need to be looked at and kind of allow characters to do things to have fun. Now, a lot of players, especially new players, they get lost in the conditions, and it leads you to this system that the players can't really play without Foundry, without Path Builder, because it is so daunting in the beginning, and it takes a long time to get to learn these things. So you have, oh, I'm intimidated, I'm frightened, and I'm sickened, but those don't stack. You're one or the other. So generally regarded, sicken is better because it takes an action to get rid of sicken, where frightened just drops off. But knowing the rules, it takes time, and it's okay that it takes a little bit to get there, and don't beat people up over it. Just, if you forget, try to remember and just keep going. But there is a level of complexity to Pathfinder, and it does put a lot of people off, that they want to go with D&D. It is a little simpler, it is more streamlined, and I don't blame them at all. It can be a struggle to teach new players without overwhelming them. It is difficult. Like, sometimes, often as the GM, I just do these things like, oh, you have this, what's it do? It does this, but I'll take care of it. Don't worry about it. And they're like, oh, cool. Because if you tried to get that new player and everything they were doing was just, oh, here's a little note card with this effect that you have on it. And Pathfinder makes those. They have their little status effect cards and all that stuff. So yeah, it can be a little daunting, but you can allow players to do these things and think outside the box and achieve these results of fun, different actions without bogging them down by the rules. And your veteran players at the table can help. They can, well, that sounds like it would be a athletics check followed by an acrobatics check, and it's going to take 2 actions or maybe 3 actions. So think of ways that you can do these things, not just shut them down because, oh, sorry, the rules don't allow for that, or you have to have this and you don't. And I think that's actually the largest issue, is when players are told, oh, you have to have this thing and you don't have it, so you can't do that. And as I said, it really does kind of stifle creativity. Newer players, I think, often are more entertaining than veteran players because they are trying all of these outside the box ideas. They are playing a game imagining that they are this character and this is what they would do or what they would want to try if they had this character's abilities, instead of looking at it as, okay, here's a list of my abilities. Which one of these things am I going to do? Now, I know I have mentioned this before, and we're actually doing it this time. If you guys like this video, please like and subscribe to the channel. It helps us out so much. If this is your first video of ours you're watching, I always forget and do this to the end, and our editor yells at me because most people don't make it to the end. So, oh, the YouTube life. Now, as we get into ways that we can turn this around and allow the balance of Pathfinder to not become so overwhelming that it turns players off. And I've talked about this in some of my other stuff with large characters and things. So there are certainly things that every table can tackle differently, and some tables are going to be like, yeah, that's not a problem. And other tables are like, yeah, I really don't like this. So there's no cookie cutter, one solution fits all. But don't be afraid to tweak things. The beauty of Pathfinder, it is a strong system, and it is hard to break. You can do a lot of things with it before you're like, oh, yeah, we really need to talk about all these rules. Our game's no fun anymore. It's hard. I've been playing TRPGs my entire life, and so far, I haven't encountered really anything in Pathfinder that I'm like, whoo, man, that's good luck with that. There's some things that I've heard people do. So, well, you might want to keep an eye on this because at later game, it could become a problem with this area. But overall, they can address it when they get there. And balance is good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying balance is bad, but the table needs to find a balance to the balance that everyone is having fun. And at the same time, people aren't getting rules lawyered to death with every little thing they want to try. And for the rules lawyers out there, use that knowledge to help your table, not to stifle them. That, well, actually, in the rules for wheelchairs say that if someone's knocked down, you can stand them up with your own action, and it's a manipulate. So can I do that to one of my allies that doesn't have a wheelchair? Use your vast knowledge base to really jump in there and help. Say, oh, well, there is a set of feats for jumping off of walls, so I don't see why he couldn't do it. I would just up the DC some and stuff like that. So it's not that these things become impossible. They certainly can be hard, and they can take more actions than your players might want to spend. And I've actually found that that's a fun way to deal with some of these things. Like, well, this is going to be tricky, but I tell you what, if you spend 3 actions to accomplish this, I'll lower the DC versus 1 action or 2 actions, depending on everything they're wanting to do. Obviously, if it's going to take more than 1 action, it needs to take more than 1 action, but allowing them to add an action on top of whatever they want to do to help lower the DC because their character's just being a tiny bit more careful, that can be a really entertaining option and allow characters to think outside the box and get more into taking some of these, crazy fun ideas and bringing them to life. And the reason that is so important, those are the memories of TRPGs. I can tell you hours of stories about hilarious things my groups have done over the years. I'm not really going to sit down and tell you a bunch of stories about how, we went into a cave for first level, they were fighting goblins. Guy used an athletics maneuver to trip a goblin, and then he killed it. And then the other guy flanked him, and then you get the idea. But if someone runs in and says, he grabbed the goblin and threw him over the edge of this thing down into the little fire pit, technically, by the rules of Pathfinder, you can only push shove to get someone into a position like that. You couldn't even whirl and throw someone into a dangerous position. So I know a lot of tables just kind of ignore that because when you think it's silly, I can throw someone, but I can't hurt them when I throw them. Why did I throw them then? I just wanted them to get away. So there are things to look at for sure. And so there are shortage of fun things you can do. And no shortages of rules in Pathfinder. That's one of the biggest things and reasons people kind of don't get into it is they're so intimidated by all these rules. And if that's you, yes, there's all these rules. You don't need to know all of them. Just knowing that they're there. You're not fighting underwater all the time. But knowing that there are rules for underwater combat, well, I'm going to look that up really quick because that's what we're doing. And we'll go to that. The rules are generally simple. And you're like, bam, there you are. So it's more about knowing of their existence so that you can look them up, not trying to memorize 300 rules for by case scenarios that most likely your character will never encounter most of those. We want games to be fun. We want them to also not drag out if players are not having fun. And that's the key. That's what fights take so long. If everyone's having fun at your fight, doesn't matter how long it takes. If people are bored out of their minds, that can be stuff to look at. And as a GM, there's been plenty of times too, I've looked at a fight and like players are okay. And they're in no danger at this point. You're like, yeah, they're just going to mop it up. So go ahead and end the fight. Like, you don't need to play every little thing out all the way if it's going to cause the group to stagnate and get bored. Sometimes it's important. So you're going to have to be the judge there. But what do you guys think? What are some of your guys' like crazy stories of things that you've done that were outside the rules, that you used the rules to accomplish? I would love to hear about it. I have seen so many of these entertaining interactions, and there's been times that we've made those things into rules at our table because they're like, nope, this is really cool. This is something that is now an option for everyone to do all the time. So I'd love to hear from you guys. Leave a comment. And as always, game well, my friends.